I saw this movie about 12 hours after I saw something called Transformers.
Oh, okay.
And it's, they're both supposed to be intense experiences, and very visceral for the audience. And this just blows that thing away. And, they spent $250 million on the Transformers movie.
Yeah.
And this is a much smaller movie that deserves the attention, and I really hope it gets it because it's fantastic, it's intense, it's got great performances. So as an actor, that has to be incredibly rewarding, not just seeing it on the printed page as, wow, this is a character I want to play, but then when you see the end result and just how incredibly well it turned out.
Yeah, you feel pretty lucky with that, something, we all want, an audience. It's like, want to rehearse for a play and then have it never open, right? So it's nice to be able to do something that, you feel like is so fantastic, and then it also is received well, or at least that people see it. It's important. So it certainly is better than a stick in the eye or something. I'm glad that people are digging it. But there's so many variables for it to go wrong.
Oh yeah.
I'm used to that. I think a lot of people are. How rare a movie like this comes along. It's really rare. To me, it's like winning the lotto. It's so rare.
Well, and it does kind of have a stacked deck quality to it because it is smaller, it is a war movie. You're in the industry, those have not done well in the last few years.
Absolutely.
Not only have they not done well, I mean, even critics haven't necessarily warmed up to it.
Right.
So it's kind of a tough place to stake your flag,
Yeah.
But it's a fantastic film. You ought to be very proud of it. I'm sure you are.
Yeah.
I try to go in blind whenever I can, so I didn't know what your role was, I knew basics of the story, but I didn't know very much about it. And, the first scene there with Guy Pearce, I'm like, oh, Guy Pearce is in it. Well, this is going to be great.
Yeah.
And then when Guy Pearce is no longer in it, that kind of, as somebody who didn't know the whole thing, I didn't know if you were the main character, or if Anthony was the main character, or Brian was the main. I didn't really know which way it was going to go.
Yeah. It was, I think it was mostly Catherine's idea in casting it that way. It might have been some Mark idea as well, but she certainly wanted to have, more emerging sort of actors' faces in there, and it just gave a wonderful element of anyone can die at any moment. Oh, you're going to kill Guy Pearce, who you thought was going to be the lead in the movie, perhaps.
Well, not just Guy Pearce, but as you learn later on.
Or anybody else, so no one was safe. Maybe if Tom Cruise is playing that role, then you probably pretty much know that Tom Cruise is not going to die. It's nice to know that, we can kill Jeremy at any given moment. You know what I mean? I think it makes it more realistic.
Yeah, and it adds to that overall intensity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Now,
smart on her part, very smart.
When you read the script, which I found out had almost 20 different drafts of it, where did you pick it up for the first time? Was it at the end or closer to the beginning of that process?
I guess it's pretty close to the beginning. It changed a little bit once I got on, but I was in London when I got the script. It was about a year prior to principal photography. So if it changed much at all, I guess it was just from adapting it and tailoring it to my take and Catherine's take and Mark, that we're all getting on the same page and applying some ideas I had and shifting things to once we got Anthony finally on board and Brian, then we could really tailor it to us.
And how collaborative was that process to create
James? We weren't writing by any means.
Right.
The script was already there. The characters, I feel like, were three-dimensional already, even though it was on the page. I saw so much happening just from the script, and then once we got it lifted off the page, then it became very collaborative. But mostly in discussions and talking about their psychology and what fuels these people, and stemming from the first question I had to Catherine, which was, how do you want the audience to feel at the end of this movie when he goes back into war, walking off into the sunset? It seems so, it's kind of poetic and it's tragic. But it's exactly where that guy needs to be. He should be happy. So it was one of those things that informed me to take that character in a very specific direction, which is already instinctually where I wanted to go anyway. But
I think the psychology is you know, you mentioned that. I think that's very important to these characters because they're not the guy you bumped into on the street necessarily. I mean, they've got to be very. There's a special breed of cat that does that for a living.
I think so. I think so.
But you can't make him one note either. You know, he's got to have more layers. He's got to have a reason to get to that point. He's got to be able to see everything around him. You know, he has to recognize that what he's doing is a little special in that way too.
Yeah, I mean, I do a big disservice to Mark after writing such a great character to play it so flat and thin. So much was written, and then the potential of more to grow is I felt like my responsibility to expand upon what he touched on. So, you know, it worked out great. You know, it's one of those things where, you know, like if you go on a blind date with somebody, sometimes you connect with them, sometimes you don't. You just don't know the answers to those things. Catherine and I work well together because she's very light-handed as a director. I happen to like that. Some other people can't stand that. They want to be directed more. It just fit. It just fit with the way Mark wrote, the way I like to perform, and the way Catherine and everything just had to fit in the right place, I feel like.
It felt in a way like a stage play.
It felt like when we were shooting it.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask you about that because there's not one camera. They're hidden all over the place.
Yeah.
And you just have to be actors unaware of your surroundings. Almost.
Yeah. All we had to do is react. The circumstances and the surroundings were a major character in itself. So all we had to do is literally, we don't know if these people that are walking through wherever the frame is, I don't know where the cameras are, so I don't know what the frick the frame is. I mean, the goats would just start walking through a frame. I'm like, okay, let's just keep going. Just make it, you know, the tasks, just get it done. And there would be 15-minute takes, and you never saw a camera, never saw Catherine. You just saw random people. Now, maybe they were part of the movie. I mean, I found out that, you know, a third of them weren't, but, you know, it's fine. It works for the movie as long as they're not looking at the camera, which is fine because they can't see the camera. So there were a lot of instances where, you know, there was, you just made it happen. It felt like a play. You performed. Sometimes Catherine, like I remember the first sequence, you know, the IED's down there somewhere. Just kind of go find it. You know, I want you to go here, stop here, and then make your way down here. And we just kind of did it in pieces in some of them, but then just like walk down there and do what you know how to do. I'm like, okay. Then we do it. And the cameras would, and it lent itself to because it was such an arduous thing to be in this suit. So she was so good about like working around me because I was so limited in what I could do in this thing, especially positions and once I'm on the ground and knowing it was tough. So she accommodated for me, and I think for everybody to let them not get in our way. We knew what we were doing, at least we thought we did anyway. And she knows what she's doing, and she's just capturing it. She's brilliant that way.
There's no hiding that suit. I mean, that's uncomfortable. It's hot.
Yeah.
It is just what it is. What kind of limitations, or were there any limitations because that was the goal of the suit? I mean, did it make you worry about those scenes more, or were you less concerned because the limitation was already placed on you?
It was a love-hate relationship I had with that suit. You know, that suit informed me so much about this character. I hated it, but I really did love it. It was, even though it was heavy but it taught me a different walk. I walked in it differently. I moved differently. I thought differently. Once this thing came on, the helmet went down. It was peace. I didn't care who was around me. It was laser focused at that point. It means that, boom, time to get to work. And then it's just like looking for snipers, going down, getting that. It then just became laser. And I don't remember, you know, in my hotel room, like learning the lines for that day or preparing in any way. The only preparation is like, okay, what can I do best to not pass out? That's how I'm going to prepare. So I'm going to start off the day with a bunch of OJ, a bunch of water, maybe some Gatorade. That'll start me off today. That's how I prep for each day, and then just went and did it.
What was the longest you were in that suit at any one time?
Maybe a half hour.
But still, I mean,
but then I would take off the, you know, between takes. You know, the helmet was heavy enough on its own, so that would cool me down a bit. You know, and we had a fan in the thing, but it's not to cool you down; it's so you can see, so it doesn't fog up. Right? Because it's probably